What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another WornKibbles video. Today I'm back at you with another camping trip story. This one's just about one of the weirdest kids that I've ever shared a tent with, and as the trip went, he just kept getting more strange, so it should be pretty entertaining. Leave a like, and let's get right into it. Alright, so every summer there's a small group in my town, you guys know, that just kind of gets together to plan out like a big camping trip or like go to a summer camp. And it's pretty cool. A lot of time everybody is really nice, but every once in a while there are some bad kids, maybe a few weird kids that end up getting in the group. And like the video I made about that kid who got kicked out of summer camp. But this year there wasn't really anybody who seemed bad right off the bat. And on this particular summer, my camping group decided to go on a canoe trip up in the Great Lakes. Like, it's super cool. Basically, we would get in canoes and spend the entire week just going from like little island to little island and setting up camp every day. We basically wouldn't see civilization for like an entire week. And in the group, we kind of had to decide like who was going to be the group leader, like who planned the route, who was like mainly in charge of us the whole time. And there was one kid in our group who we decided was going to be the group leader because he had been there before. He was the only kid in our group who had been there. And we're going to name this kid Connor. Me and Connor ended up being the two oldest kids in the group. So we also ended up tenting together and sharing a canoe. Now, little did I know that Connor might end up being the most strange person that I've ever shared a tent with. But before I found that out, first we had to do like the 12-hour drive to get up to the upper Great Lakes, like literally on the Canadian border. So we get up there, and when we get out of these cars, we are pumped. And by pumped, I mean the blood was instantly being pumped out of us because there were tons of mosquitoes. Like, it was actually the most terrible thing ever. The moment we had gotten out of the cars, we were swarmed. There were clouds so thick that they just looked like black masses in the sky. One of the younger kids' wrists swelled up to like the size of a softball because of how many bites he got. So naturally, we are all freaking out. I'm like basically seeing the light with how much blood I've lost, trying to frantically swat them away. And then I notice Connor, and he's just standing there, not even moving. Like in the middle of all of this chaos, he's like standing in a T-pose with his eyes closed, just like humming as the mosquitoes swarmed him. It was like he was like offering himself as a sacrifice or something. I actually think I heard him mutter something under his breath like, drink, little ones. I was actually flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. And that was the first time I got to see just how strange this kid was going to be. But the rest of us were like still freaking out about the mosquitoes, so we quickly raced to get everything packed in their canoes and out onto the water. So thankfully, once we got to the middle of the lake, there was no mosquitoes, but oh boy, was I not looking forward to that every night when we got to an island to set up camp. And I was glad to be out of the mosquitoes, but once we were out on the water, I realized another perilous misfortune. Now, you'd think that Connor would be good at canoeing, seeing as he was the only one who had been on this trip before, but let me tell you, he was the absolute worst. Like, not just between me and him, but between the whole group. Connor, I swear, it seemed like he had never even held a paddle before. He was assigned to the back of our canoe because he was the more experienced one, and for those of you who don't know, the back is the person who steers the boat. And oh my goodness, we couldn't even stay near the others in our group. Everyone else had just a fine time floating along next to each other, but we were always like over in the corner of the lake, maybe like 45 feet away from the group, because Connor just couldn't paddle. And it caused us to get yelled at a lot by the adults because we needed to stay close to be safe. And I tried to tell them that it wasn't my fault, but I still got blamed for it anyway. We eventually got to the place where we were setting up camp on the first night, and everything went pretty smoothly. I mean, we just set up our tents, we had our food, and then we went to sleep on the nice soft ground. Woke up the next day ready to do it all over again. But the next morning, we woke up to rain. Heavy, downpouring rain. But we needed to pack up camp anyway because the longer we waited, the less time we would have, and we definitely didn't want to set up camp in the dark later. So we quickly tried to pack everything up, and soon we were in the canoes. The rain was coming down in sheets, and since we were in the middle of a literal Great Lake, there was nowhere to hide. We were all soaked to the bone, basically miserable. And I was just trying to paddle the next island, but then I looked at Connor, and Connor is in the back of our boat, and he's just stopped paddling entirely. He's just sitting there with his head tilted back, mouth wide open, catching the rainwater like a human fountain. He's like making these weird, like gulping noises, and I'm just sitting in the front, like, dude, can you please steer the boat? We're drifting towards Canada. And he just looks at me, water dripping off his nose, and goes, "The sky is providing, WornKibbles. Don't be ungrateful." I didn't even know how to respond to that. So I just put my head down and paddled for the both of us. And when we got to the next campground, Connor decided he was too tired because of all of that paddling he did, to help set up camp. And as soon as I set up our tent, he just went inside and went to sleep. It was like 5 o'clock. And of course, he left me to be the leader then because I was the second oldest. So I was the one who had to organize everything and cook dinner out in the mosquito clouds. You'd think that how much Connor seemed to not mind the mosquitoes, he should be the one doing all that. But no, it was me. I swear, the mosquitoes made the week so bad. You might think the rain sounded bad, but the pouring rain was actually the only time we could be outside of our tents without being assaulted by the most mosquitoes I've ever seen in my entire life. But anyways, that night after it was all over, we were sitting in the tent trying to sleep, and Connor rolls over to me and is like, "I'm not tired. You should talk to me." Well, yeah, of course you aren't tired. You went to sleep at 4 p.m. today. So he kept trying to talk to me and basically kept me up all night. And the next few days went pretty much the same. And I soon realized that I was now the leader of the group because Connor would go into his tent at 4 p.m. every single day, leaving me to just do everything. And eventually I learned to stop responding to him at night. If I just ignored him, he would eventually stop talking and then I could actually get to sleep. And for a few nights, it worked. If I didn't respond, he would just be quiet. But then, close to the end of the trip, like I think it was maybe the last day, it led to one of the most strange experiences ever, bro. All right, so like always, we're laying in bed, and Connor isn't tired because he's already been in the tent for 6 hours doing nothing while I cook dinner. And so he starts asking me, "WornKibbles, are you awake? Are you?" And I'm like, "No, Connor, I'm trying to sleep. Please stop talking to me." And he just kind of goes like, "Okay." And he goes quiet, and I'm like, "Thank goodness." And I start to drift off a little bit, but a little while later, maybe like 30 minutes, an hour, I wake up to Connor just talking a bunch, like just talking about his day. It sounds like he's having a full-on conversation with somebody. But the thing is, there's nobody else in our tent. And I look over at him, and he is talking to a mosquito. I'm not joking. I don't know what this kid's thing is with mosquitoes, but there's like on the other side of our tent, like we can see through the tent on this mesh material, there's a mosquito sitting on our tent. And like, okay, I get some people talk to themselves. I talk to myself a lot, actually. I know some people will think that I'm crazy for that, but like, does this dude have a weird blood bond with mosquitoes? Like, when we got here, he was basically sacrificing himself to them, and now he's full on talking to them. He's not doing it as a joke either, because he doesn't think that anybody else is awake. Like, he's just straight up holding conversation. Well, not conversation, because I guess that would imply that the mosquitoes were like talking back to him. Although I don't know, maybe they were, and he was like the only one who could hear them. He's like Dr. Doolittle, but only for mosquitoes. Man, imagine how much that would suck. Like, oh, I can talk to animals, but not anything cool like my dog or something. No, no, I can talk to the most annoying insect of all time. But anyway, after like this whole rant that he goes on about his day, eventually he's just like, "So what do you think about that?" Like he's asking the mosquito, and the mosquito doesn't respond. Like, of course it doesn't respond because it's a mosquito. And Connor just goes, no answer. I see how it is. Staring contest then." And he points at the mosquito, and then he just starts intensely like glaring at this bug. Like he was trying to burn through it with heat vision or something. And at this point, I'm like weirded out. So I just go, "Hey, Connor, who are you talking to?" And he's immediately like, "Oh, I wasn't talking." Like, bro, you're really gonna tell me that the last 5 minutes that you've been rambling about your day and then having a staring contest with a mosquito didn't happen? I was awake, Connor. I saw it all. Like, bro, what? Honestly, I was scared that Connor was going to get us lost on purpose, and then we would never make it back because he wanted to sacrifice us all to the mosquito gods so that we could, like, be reincarnated as his mosquito brethren. Dude, I don't even know. But when we finally got back to the cars at the end of the week, I have never been so happy to see a paved road in my entire life. So, moral of the story, I guess, if someone offers themselves as a sacrifice to the mosquitoes, maybe don't let them steer your boat. That's about all for the story today, folks. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you've ever been to a summer camp with a kid who seems a little too strange to be real. And if you've made it this far in the video, why not press that subscribe button? I've got tons more content like this, and I post new story times every single week. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. I love you guys. Hope you all have an amazing day. And as always, thanks for watching.